In this chapter, we will learn about chemical bonds. Now, what are chemical bonds? Definition of bond says any kind of association between two atoms, ions, or molecules is called a bond. So, we can say the attractive force which holds various constituents like atoms, ions, or molecules, etc., together in a different chemical species is called a chemical bond. So, let us see one example. Suppose we take a molecule of H2O, which is water. So in a molecule of H2O, there are two hydrogen atoms and there is one oxygen atom. Now they are all linked together to form a single molecule of H2O. तो एबे ऑक्सीजन और हाइड्रोजन भितर जो एसोसिएशन बिल्ड हेची नॉर्मली ता पई एमती लाइन सेगमेंट करके ड्रॉ करा जाए. तो दिस लाइन सेगमेंट रिप्रेजेंट्स द एसोसिएशन बिटवीन ऑक्सीजन एंड हाइड्रोजन. तो देयर इज अनदर लाइन सेगमेंट बिटवीन द अदर पेयर ऑफ O and H. तो ये जो एसोसिएशन बिटवीन डिफरेंट एटम्स दैट यू सी, each of them can be called a chemical bond. तो ये बॉन्ड केमिति फॉर्म हुए तार कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स कौन से विषय डिटेल आम ये चैप्टर शिखा. नाउ लेट अस सी वन मोर एग्जांपल. सपोज अ कंपाउंड लाइक NaCl. NaCl तुम जानिछ इट कंटेन्स Na प्लस आयन व्हिच इज पॉजिटिवली चार्ज्ड एंड Cl माइनस आयन व्हिच इज नेगेटिवली चार्ज्ड. तो इट ड्यू टू ऑपोजिट चार्ज ऑफ द टू आयन्स they can stay together or they can associate with each other. So this is also one kind of chemical bond. Now the mechanism of bond formation varies from molecule to molecule. एठी OH भितरे जो टाइप रो बॉन्ड अछि Na और Cl भितरे सेही टाइप रो बॉन्ड नाही. It's a different kind of bond. सेमती if you take let's say for example H2O, H2O can exist as a gas or it can exist as a liquid or it can exist as a solid. Now we know that when something exists in gaseous state, सेठी तार different molecules भितरे force of attraction बहुत कम थाए. Liquid state रे से force of attraction टिके अधिक थाए. Solid रे आहुरी अधिक थाए. तमाने हमें कहि परिबा, suppose if this is one H2O molecule, in case of gas, the two H2O molecules are far away from each other, ଆଉ तांको भितरे बहुत weak force of attraction थिबो. Whereas when it becomes a liquid, the two molecules will become slightly closer ଆଉ ତାଙ୍କ ଭିତରେ ଆଉ ଟିକେ strong bond form ହବ. When it comes to solid state, the molecules are even closer with a even stronger association between them. तो এই भलिया दीटा molecule भितरे भी जो force of attraction रहुची, that is also classified as chemical bond. तो ये discussion में हमें जानी पारुचे that there are so many different kinds of chemical bonds that we need to see. So we will see about all of them one by one in this chapter. So first of all, we will discuss about bonds between a pair of atoms. दीटा atom भितरे bond केमती form हुए, काहेकि form हुए, से विषय रे कथा हबा. Now the most primitive theory was given by Kossel and Lewis. So this theory explains how bonds are formed between two atoms. तो ये theory अनुसारे Lewis had postulated that atoms achieve stable octet when they are linked by chemical bonds. तो तमे कहि पारो atoms form bonds in order to attain something called an octet. तो octet माने कोन बुझिबा पूर्वरु let us have a look at this Lewis symbols. तो Lewis symbol ले देखो एठी लिथियम, बेरिलियम, बोरोन, कार्बन एमती डिफरेंट एटम्स हमें नैचे आउ से एटम चारिपटे आमे किछिटा डॉट्स को ड्रॉ करके रखिचे. So what do they signify? Each dot here represents one of the valence electrons of that atom. जेमती for example lithium case रे the valence shell configuration is 2s1. तो lithium has one valence electron, तो आमे lithium पाखरे गोटिए डॉट देइचे. सेमती if it comes to beryllium, its outermost configuration is 2s2. तो 2s2 माने दीटा valence electron अछि, so beryllium चारिपटे आमे beryllium around रे आमे दीटा डॉट देइचे. तो सही भलिया if you look at all these atoms, तांकर configuration लेखिकी तमे निजे चेक करि परिबो जे एई एटम रो जेतिकिटा valence electron रहिछि आमे से एटम चारिपटे सेतिकिटा डॉट को represent करैछे. Now the question is, if you look at this neon atom, neon रो outermost configuration होछि 2s2 2p6. तो 2s2 2p6 means there are 8 electrons. तो नियन चारिपटे आमे 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 आठटा डॉट देचे representing all the 8 valence electrons. So when some atom attains this kind of a s2p6 configuration and thereby has 8 valence electrons, a case रे atoms seem to be very stable. तो आमे केमती जानूचे atom गुड़ा को stable अच्छी बोली? Now atoms like neon which have a s2p6 configuration, they don't form bonds. सेमाने अन्य कोनोसी atom सहित bond form करंती ही नहीं. तो सेइथुर आमे कहि परिबा, since they have no tendency to form any bond, these atoms are relatively stable. तो ए जो stable atom सब देखुच, ए stable configuration पाई they require s2p6 or 8 electrons in the valence shell. So having 8 electrons in the valence shell is a situation which is referred to as octet. So this configuration octet means having 8 electrons in the valence shell. So हमें कहि परिबा neon has a natural octet configuration in its atomic form. But if you look at the other atoms in the series, boron, carbon, nitrogen, they don't have 8 electrons in the valence shell. You can count the number of dots around each atom to find out how many electrons they have in the outermost shell. तो कहार भी एठी 8 electron नहीं. So in order to attain stability, they would like to reach this configuration of octet. That they do by forming bonds. तो केमती होची तार गोटे छोटिया एग्जांपल नेकी देखिबा. तो let's take a molecule of ammonia, NH3. Now NH3 रे nitrogen has 5 valence electrons, as you can see in the Lewis diagram, Lewis symbol. On the other hand, hydrogen with a configuration 1s1, it has only 1 valence electron. तो से भले हमें तीनटा हाइड्रोजन नैचे to form a molecule of NH3. तो हमें तीनटा हाइड्रोजन को गोटे गोटे डॉट सहित देखेबा. So what nitrogen does with hydrogen now is that it shares 1 electron with hydrogen. तो नाइट्रोजन रो गोटे इलेक्ट्रॉन हाइड्रोजन रो गोटे इलेक्ट्रॉन एठी शेयर हेकी तांको भितरे गोटे बॉन्ड क्रिएट होची. तो a similar bond can be created on this side and a similar bond can be created on this side. तो ए जो इलेक्ट्रॉन गुडा को देखुच, these electrons are shared between two atoms and they are responsible for formation of a bond between N and H. ताले बे देखो जदि नाइट्रोजन ए सबु इलेक्ट्रॉन को शेयर कला, एठी तार सिस्टम रे 6टा इलेक्ट्रॉन आसी गला प्लस तार आगुरु दीटा थिला, तो टोटल एबे नाइट्रोजन रो कंट्रोल रे 8टा इलेक्ट्रॉन रहिला. So by forming these 3 bonds with hydrogen, nitrogen is able to achieve an octet configuration indirectly. So now nitrogen, as you can see, has 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 valence electrons in the valence shell. So in most of the cases, तमे गोटे molecule को जदि observe करिवो, you will find that the atoms try to achieve this octet configuration by forming a suitable number of bonds. तो सही थ्रू भी हमें आइडिया करि परिबा गोटे पर्टिकुलर एटम केतेटा बॉन्ड फॉर्म करिवो, और दैट इज आल्सो नोन एज valency of an atom. तो गोटे एटम रो valency केते हबो, that is also guided by the tendency of the atom to attain octet. Now secondly, ये जो कोसेल-लुईस मॉडल हमें डिस्कस करूचे सेथरे कोसेल कोन पॉइंट आउट कले. Now कोसेल pointed out in the periodic table the highly electronegative halogens and the highly electropositive alkali metals are separated by the noble gases. ए स्टेटमेंट रो माने कोन? धर आमे गोटे हालोजन नबा, हालोजन रो फर्स्ट हालोजन होची फ्लोरीन, आउ अल्काली मेटल रे वी हैव एन अल्काली मेटल सोडियम. फ्लोरीन रो एटॉमिक नंबर हैला 9, सोडियम रो एटॉमिक नंबर होची 11. So there is another element with atomic number 10 in between them. So whose atomic number is 10? It is neon. So neon is a noble gas. तो सेटा से कहउचंती जे highly electronegative halogens and highly electropositive alkali metals are separated by noble gases. Just like fluorine, which is a halogen, and sodium, which is an alkali metal, they are separated by neon, which is a noble gas. तापर हमें कहि परिबा the formation of a negative ion from a halogen atom and a positive ion from an alkali metal atom is associated with gain and loss of an electron by the respective atoms. तो या माने कौन? Fluorine which is electronegative, halogen गुड़ाक electronegative, they have a tendency to gain one electron. तो fluorine ने तमे जदि गोटे electron add करिबो, you will get F minus ion, which is a negatively charged ion. सेमती sodium or any other alkali metal, they have a tendency to lose electron. तो sodium जदि गोटे electron loss करे, it will form a Na plus ion, which is a positive ion. So halogens and alkali metals, they can form negative and positive ions by gaining or losing electrons. Now the next point is, the negative and positive ions thus formed attain stable noble gas electronic configurations. Now what does this mean? This means, देखो fluorine रा atomic number एठी अछि 9. तामाने fluorine atom रे there are 9 electrons. But if you add one electron to make a F minus ion, F minus now has 10 electrons. So having 10 electrons is something similar to neon. Neon रा atomic number अछि 10. तो सेति पाई neon atom रे 10 टा electron अछि, तो F minus रे भी 10 टा electron अछि. सेमती sodium रा atomic number होछि 11. That means sodium atom has 11 electrons. सेइथुरु गोटे इलेक्ट्रॉन लॉस होला परे तमे Na प्लस पाइलो. तो जदि 11टा इलेक्ट्रॉन रु गोटे इलेक्ट्रॉन लॉस हे गला, बाहरी गला, it is now left with 10 electrons. So just like neon, sodium plus also has 10 electrons in its system. तो सेइथुरु हमें कहि परिबा जे F minus हला कि Na plus हला, their configuration is similar to a noble gas. So they attain a stable noble gas electronic configuration. Or तमे कहि पारो their configuration resembles octet, that is they have 8 electrons in the valence shell. Or जदि तांकर electronic configuration लिखिबो, it will end with ns2 np6. So both F minus and Na plus, which have 10 electrons each, both of them have a outermost electronic configuration of 2s2 to p6. So this is a octet configuration. So by gaining or losing electrons, the halogens and the alkali metals attain a stable octet configuration just like noble gas. Ebe kono hobo? Now since in the process F has acquired a negative charge and Na has acquired a positive charge, तो दीटा जदि हमर opposite charge पाखापाखी रहिबे, there would be a force of attraction between them. Opposite charges attract each other, से विषय हमें जानिछे. So this negative and positive ions which are formed, they are stabilized by electrostatic attraction. So this attractive force between the opposite charges is called a electrostatic attraction. ता लगी Na plus और F minus एकाठी मिसिकी रहिबे, and they will constitute a compound which is sodium fluoride or NaF. So this kind of association between sodium and fluorine atom due to their charge is referred to as a electrovalent or a ionic bond. So this is one kind of bond which can exist between a pair of atoms. तो जोटी तमे electrovalent की ionic bond form करिबा को चाहुचो, the atoms must acquire some charge by gaining and losing electron. So depending on how many electrons are gained or lost, you will have a certain amount of negative or positive charge on the atoms, and then after they create some charge on each, you can associate them by means of electrostatic attraction. So that attraction is called a electrovalent or ionic bond.